the first word of these verses that I'm about to read to you today kind of throws some river water on you, and it's kind of shocking. So you'll all feel what they felt baptizing by when I say this word, and that word is woe. And then he says it woe and woe and woe and woe. He says it a bunch of times, and I have found out that that is not a good word to have for you, for me. Woe is difficult. And so what it means, I went and looked it up and read about it. And woe means grief. Grief to you. And here's the word. It's U-I-E. It's U-A-E. 3 syllables. And what U-A means is surprise. So U-A-E means surprise grief. And it's like nobody expects it. It's like the skit we used to do where people run up to the Lamb's Book of Life saying, my name's in there, and the angel says, and then they take him away screaming, like, but I went to church every week. And it's like, what? Surprise. It's a surprise. There will be weeping and Rhema. You will be crying. And it's like, well, we want to pay attention to these. And, whenever we come to that verse that says, woe to you if you cause one of these little ones to stumble, I mean, it's whoa. When he says whoa, what? What did he say? When you go back to the beginning of this address, you know what the first words of this address say? He spoke to his disciples. He's talking to his disciples, telling them, woe to you. And like, well, I thought that being his disciple was like, not woe to me. So we want to pay attention anyway. The point is, me telling you this word before I read it, is each time it says this, I want you to just be aware that he's speaking to disciples. He's not speaking to someone else. And we're in verse 24 of chapter 6. Let's go ahead and put it up. But woe to you who are rich, for you are receiving your comfort in full. Woe to you who are well fed now, for you shall be hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. And woe to you when all men speak well of you, for their fathers used to treat the false prophets in the same way. And it's like, let me recap for you, okay? I just kind of like paint a picture of recap for you. What he said was, woe to you who are rich. Woe to you who are well fed. Woe to you who laugh. And woe to you when men speak well of you. Well, wait a minute. I want all of those things. I want them a lot. I have actually used up, I have so much time on earth, and I've used up a pretty fair portion seeking after these very things. And I've had these very things. I've achieved these very things. And he's saying, whoa. What does he mean? This hunger is not necessarily about food. It's about an aching desire that can never be satisfied. It's like, whoa. Surprise grief to the people who are this is what you're after. Now, he said, if you're after those things, then you've already received your reward. You won't get one later. And later, you'll be hungry. And later, you'll mourn and weep. That's what he just said. Woe to you if you're rich, well-fed, laugh, and men speak well of you. You've received your reward. You will be hungry. What it means is you received your reward and you'll get no more. You will be hungry and you will mourn and weep. And I'm like, someone was crying after the first service because they got caught up in this feeling that you can feel when you read it that way. Like, we're doomed. Because that's what I want. I got to tell you, I've been rich and I've been poor. And in every choice, even today, offer it to me today. I want more. Yeah, I want riches. And I want to be comforted. And I want to laugh. And I want people to talk good of me. I want people to say good things about me. I do. And it's like, what do I do? It's like, what do I do with that? It's kind of a trap. My first job, I went out, and the guy paid me $1.10 an hour. Not my first job. My first job in construction. I did wash dishes once for $1.35 an hour, And this guy paid me $1.10 an hour because I knew nothing. I basically carried wood, redwood. We built lots of decks and gazebos. But I only worked for him for a short time because of this story. So he's paying me $1.10 an hour, paydays in 2 weeks. And we work about 50 hours a week. So that's 100 hours at $1.10 an hour. I'll get $110, $55 a week. And he takes us out to lunch every day, and he insists. I said, well, I can bring my own lunch, and I'll sit here and wait for you guys to come back. Nope. To work for him, you must go to lunch with him. And he always picks up the tab. So wait a minute, man. I'm not just getting $1.10 an hour. I'm getting lunch also, which is, in those days, a hamburger deluxe is French fries, lettuce, tomato, onion on a hamburger. And at most cafes, and it's just under it's under $2, like $1.90, $1.80, $1.65 in cheap places. But if you get a drink and, drinks for 30 or 40 cents, and by the time you tip, you can figure somewhere near $3, just shy of $3 a day. And so I'm making an extra $3 a day on $1.10 an hour. So that's pretty good wages, right? So it comes to payday, and I'm making at least more than I made dishwashing now because he's paying for lunch. Well, come payday, I find out he's not paying for lunch. He's deducting it from the $1.10. So he hands me, and so I'm doing the math in my head. And listen, if you know me, I'm pretty fast with math in my head. He hands me $10. It's $100 for lunch. 10 times 3 is only 30. And it's like, I'm being ripped off. I mean, that $10 did buy more than 20 gallons of gas, and my 63 Catalina with the 450 engine, at least I could fill it with gas and drive all week at 10 miles a gallon, but $10 would do that, but nothing else. I have no money. And I'm trying to figure out, wait, how does that add up? And if you ask, he's offended, so of course I quit. He must have stole $70. I was 18 years old. I was hothead, but I mean, it's like, I can do the math. That doesn't add up. You should have been giving me a lot more money. Anyway, so you can see I was taken advantage of. My next job was $3.50 an hour because I wanted more. So I went to the next guy. Now I have some tools. I can at least carry the lumber. I know how to carry it. And so the next guy pays me $3.50 an hour, starts to teach me more. And then he gives me a raise to $5 an hour because I learned more, because I want more. And I went home and told my dad I got $5 an hour. My dad retired at $6 an hour, having raised a family of 4, and we lived in Granite Bay, which is one of the richest neighborhoods on earth today, but then it was like Orville. But we lived in this nice neighborhood on the shores of Folsom Lake, and it was a great upbringing, but he raised us on $6 an hour, and here I am at 19 making $5. He dropped his tools. They give you $5 an hour? Wow. And I'm like, whoa, and I was rolling in it. $200 a week? Are you kidding me? I was rolling in it. I had money to burn at $200 a week. And the next guy paid me, so I left him because I could make $7 with this other guy, and $7 an hour, more than my dad made raising me. And he did great raising us. And I mean, it was lots and lots and lots of money, and this guy treated me like hell. I mean, I was the dirt on his shoes, and he was the worst man I've ever known in my life. He was crude, rude, and socially unacceptable all the way across the board, but I saw that he had a pattern. He had a system of construction that was so good. He never said my name once in the 2 years I worked for him. Only reason I knew he knew my name, he wrote it on my check. Paid me $7 an hour, never gave me a raise. And everything was a race. And we built houses. We framed a house every 8 days. And I said, this is a phenomenal system. Nobody around us could do this. And I said, it's worth being called this dirty name I can't say in church. He called me a dirty name. That was his name for me. He'd go, hey, Tommy, Doug, and blank. You take the blank and go do this. And I'm like, I'm not blank. I'm Steve. Anyway. But $7 an hour, people. I mean, big money. I want more. And I'm like the richest guy living in the commune. I'm the biggest guy around. I buy everybody dinner every day and still have money left at $7 an hour. Man, I was rich. My car never ran out of gas. I was never short at $7 an hour. It's a lot of money. But he treated so bad. But I could see I can make a lot more than $7 an hour. I learned what this man has. And so he fired me for being a youth pastor. He hated Christians. And he fired me for being a youth pastor. I got to go to this camp, man. You go, you're fired. And I said, I told you a year in advance. Anyway, so he fired me because he's socially unacceptable. He's rude. But I had his system. Next guy paid me $8. And what he told me was, I can't pay anyone $8. And I said, I'll work for you for free until noon. And if you think I'm worth $8, you pay me. And if not, we shake hands. Come 20 minutes later, he says, you got your $8. And would you train my crew in this system? And we became fabulous. And I went way past that. I was 14, 15. I think it was $13.85 the day I moved to Spokane to marry Vicky. I was at $13.85 an hour, but I was hungry. I want more. I'm a youth pastor making $13.85 an hour. I could take my whole youth group out for ice cream and pay for them. I mean, it was like I had money to burn. I want more. Then one day, we started our business. I decided not to work for other people, and I went into business. And you don't know whether you're making money or not. You're paying so many. My actual workman's comp bill per quarter was over $100,000. In 1989, I don't know, 80, whatever it was crazy, $100,000. You don't know if you're making money. They're taking so much. All this money's coming in and all this money's going out, and you don't know what's going on, and it takes quite a few months, almost a year, to know where you fit because there's so much roll of cash. And you're framing hundreds of houses with 60 guys, and we're doing payroll on our table. We're not using accountants, and it's crazy. It's marital suicide to try to go through tax books and say, okay, this guy's pay this week is $600, and you go through and this is his tax, and subtract it and make out the check by hand, and there's 60 payroll checks, and we're going crazy in our living room, in our kitchen, trying to make out payroll. Why did we do all this? Why did we put up with this guy calling us names? Why did we keep going? Because we want more. Why? Because we want to be rich. We want to be well fed. We've been the poor. We were the poor youth pastor in Spokane. We've made nothing and lived on nothing and scraped and scratched. And she couponed like you've never seen anyone coupon in your life. She was the master of couponing just to make our dollar go further. And I worked for that guy after the $13.85 for $6 an hour for 5 years. We wanted more. And we built this business. And one day I came home from the bank, and finally the accounting came clear. I had paid all my accounts receivable. I'd paid everybody. I was owed a fortune. I had all my accounts that were owed to me and would be paid on next Thursday. And I looked at it. Then I looked at the balance. I ran home to Vicky and said, it worked. We could take right now from what's in the reserve and fill the bed of my truck with $100 bills and fill it up. We have so much money in that account. We're rich. It's what we tried to be. We were still living in a rental for $300 a month, $350 a month. Someone else's house. I started buying land all over. I bought land in Orville. I made a mistake and bought land in Orville. No, I didn't. That was not a mistake. I followed the Holy Spirit. But the point is, you can feel me, can't you? You're going for more. They're starving you, but you want more. And it's like it feels so good now. Instead, I laid under cars and wired them together. I fixed every car. I fixed every appliance. I had to keep everything going with Band-Aids and baling wire because we couldn't afford anything. I remember the one time we bought a new appliance. It was like heaven had come down. But now we can buy all new appliances, and if we don't like them, we get rid of them and buy another set next week because we have plenty of money. It's like, who doesn't want that? Now we got new vehicles. You just turn the key. You're never climbing under them. You just they start, and they get better gas mileage, and everything's good, and they smell nice, and they look good, and everybody speaks well of you and thinks well of you. And then you own all this stuff, and your possessions just keep growing. And then there was a crash of the economy. Well, I jumped. So we're doing this in Sacramento, and we're making, it's like unflippin' believable. We sit in church and they say, we need a new air conditioner. Psst, psst, psst. We can buy the whole thing. And it feels so good just to be generous and give and have reserve. And it's not out of our need. It's just this reserve. It doesn't hurt us at all. Just give, because we got plenty. And it's this weird feeling of starting to, now I'm important because my business worked, because my hard work paid off, because I know. And suddenly, people are speaking well of me, not because of my love for Jesus. They used to come to me in the front row and say, man, your worship, you love Jesus so much. It's inspiring. And they don't say that anymore, even though I still do the same thing. Now they say how generous you are with the money you make and how successful you are in your business and how many nice new things you have. And they're starting to speak well of us. And it's a trap. We, in our hearts, we never fell into that trap. But as this economy crashed, and God said, well, just before the economy crashed, God says, I want you to move to Orville. And we're like, this is working so good. But you have to shut it down. And we did it. And we said, see, we won the lottery. We are not bound by this success because we moved where he told us to move. We went where he sent us. And we abandoned that company making all that money. We came to Orville, and I had to go to work for $10 an hour after making gobs, like 60 guys making me profit. I had to go take a job for $10 an hour. Well, in the taking of the job, he gave me a vision, and the business in Orville was successful. It was how to run a business in Orville, and it was super successful. And we began to buy more property and have more money, and it just continued to grow and grow and grow. And then the economy crashed. And we found ourselves at some point crying in the closet over our loss, fretting over our house. We found that this possession had begun to tentacle us. It had begun to grip us. It had moved in on us to take control of us. And we were no longer mourning that we had lost God's property. We were mourning that we had lost our property. Or we were afraid we were losing our self-esteem. We were afraid we were losing men speaking good of us because of our success in business. We weren't laughing anymore because of our joy of the Lord. We weren't being blessed by this joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. We were living in a success bubble where our joy was based on our success and how men spoke of us in our success, how we looked in our class, as it were. Good. What we looked like to other people instead of who he is in us. And it was during this journey of losing 70 properties, 40 houses, losing them in bankruptcy, the company failing, and this miserable feeling of failure, our comfort wasn't in him. Until we said, time out. All my life I have tried not to let riches possess me. I've tried to manage them for him. And yet I can tell from this failure. I couldn't feel it when he told me to leave Sacramento. I didn't feel a thing about, I'm losing. I didn't feel any of that. No, I'm following him. But in my short time in Orville before the crash, I could tell something changed. Losing it this time, I wasn't walking away from it with joy. I was losing it with tears and misery. And to see his hand in my life, where he gently said, whose houses are you losing? Oh, that's true. They're your houses. You can lose them. You can let them have them. And I woke up to the fact that I'm falling prey to this woe. There's going to be surprise grief in my life if I continue to let men's opinion be about my success, men's opinion be about what I own and don't own, what my opinion of who I am be about my success in business. He gave me this. I've always been able to make money. I can always win the race. I can always, but whose talents am I investing, mine or his? Whose return is it? Whose glory is it for? And in my life, with I'm saying mine, but it's ours. She's been with me every step. Never have we been out of step with each other on this journey. We have tried so hard to not be possessed by our possessions, but to be managers of his possessions since we gave our life to him. And yet, how seductive this wealth is that we just worked our butts off She stayed home and took care of 4 kids while I went out and did this business, and we built a life that was awesome, and we took all the credit for it, and you could see it. The tentacles began to grip us, and we broke free quickly. We were still generous. We were still giving all the time, but we were taking credit. And we were feeling it, this my, until our house was on the chopping block. Our own personal residence was going to the sheriff's sale. And we're like, we got this wrong. We ended up crying in closets and whining over possession. When God came through and we said, wait a minute, we need to forgive. We need to forgive. We need to bless. We need to give mercy and grace. We need to get back to our roots of this is all his. He can have it. It's his house. He can take it. He can give it to the bank, give it to you, give it to me. It's his. And immediately our house was rescued from the steps by a good friend, the very same guy that holds the note on this building, came and rescued me, and it was such a miracle. I can't tell the whole story. I don't have time, but it was a 11th hour miracle. And it wasn't about saving the house. It was about saving us from being spoken well of and having received our reward of being hungry in the future, of our mourning and weeping. A few years later, that house burned down. And I knew that I had won this one battle so far. 2 in the morning, I snuck up there past the blockades to get to my fire zone. Walked in my gate, and there was a bunch of firemen in my property sleeping. And one followed me down, came up behind me as I prayed, and the first thought I had was, this was your house. You could have protected it. You let it burn, along with all the things that I call mine, like my guitars and my pictures and my kids' videos of Little League and all that. It's all burned, and it was all yours. So what's the plan? Biggie had exactly the same feeling. Just we were together in this. It's his. It's not ours. And we knew from that day when the economy crashed and we felt those tentacles and we're in a closet crying over hours, mine, me. What if I look bad? Men won't speak well of me anymore. I'm a failure in the eyes of the city of Orville. And all those thoughts, we fast forward to the fire where it was, praise the Lord. This is a great opportunity to help people. How many fire victims we've been able to counsel, how much knowledge we have about this tragedy that we are all living in now. We were the only fire victims anyone knew. And today, in this room, everybody knows fire victims. We are perfectly situated in the kingdom of heaven because between the crash of the economy and the fire, he was able to lead us back to being blessed and not woed. My goal in life is to be one of those we talked about last week, that blessed are you, rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. And nothing you have today is yours, it's his. Your life is no longer your own. You gave it to him. And it is he who lives through you, not the opposite. And that I surrender to. And I know that this is not a common message anymore, but all that I have is his. I will tell you, because I think there are people that weren't here in the first service and you need to hear it. I don't take a salary from this church. We don't take a salary from this church. We believe in him taking care of us. And we pay all the other pastors as much as we can split up what's for them to be here and serve this ministry. But we are going to be the example of, we're not going to make this about anything other than trusting in God. And whatever you see me living in, I live in a nice house on a hill. That's from the blessing of God in my life. It's his, and he lets me live in it. We have a goal to be the biggest givers in the church, and we try with all our heart to make money so we can support this church. And we can be the biggest givers, the biggest putters-inners, and the least takers-outers. Did that make sense? Was that did the words? Okay. You got me? I am being filmed right now, so if it was wrong, you can go back and listen to it, try to figure out what I was saying. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to be the woe to you, the surprise grief. It is okay if he puts millions of dollars into my hands. And again, I'm confessing to you, I want it. But I want it for the sake of building the kingdom. I have so many dreams and visions for this church. And I would give anything to be the one to supply the money. I have been in the past. And in the future, I'd love to be. But it's not my call, it's his. Right. And all that I have is his. And I'm telling you, that's the path that every man, woman, and child must follow to not be woed. Woe is you. You're going to be shocked. But we cast out demons. We spoke in tongues. We healed. We preached the messages. Depart from me, I know you not. Talk about a surprise woe. No, what I'm on the prize and on the journey for is to not let my possessions own me, to not be rich so that I can be rewarded greatly, to not be laughing about my position that I didn't earn, not be happy with what I didn't earn, like my intelligence was given to me. Why would I be so proud of that? How did I use it for the glory of God? My ability to make money or to manage money. That was given to me. That's nothing to brag about. My ability not to be owned by my wealth, and whenever I have been owned by my wealth, to repent, back off and say, no, no, no. This is yours, not mine. It's such a seductive thing, and it's dangerous because it's woe to you. And like, I don't want woe to you. I want blessed are you. Makarios, not O-I-E. I want Makarios. Blessed are you. And great is your reward in the kingdom of heaven. Rejoice and be glad. I mean, that's what I want. How about you? And it's so seductive. I wasn't aware, until the economy crashed, I wasn't aware that it gripped me. I didn't know that I had led her into the same trap. I didn't know that I was teaching my children to trust in our wealth. I didn't know I was doing that until it crashed. And then I realized, oh man, I feel the tentacles. The last time there were no tentacles, now there are. What happened, man? I was doing so good, but then I let it own me. I let it control me. And he woke me up because he loves me. He woke me up because he loves me and made me see, you're going the wrong way, boy. I said, yes, sir, I'm backing off. Save my house or don't save my house. I'm with you. In life and death, I've had to say that with death. Let there be death or let there be life, but either way, I'm following you. Though you slay me, yet will I love you. I'm with you through the valley of the shadow of death. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. I will be poor, I will be rich, and in either case, my life belongs to you. For my reward will be great in heaven, and the words I hear will not be depart from me. They will be enter into my rest, the rest created for you. For I have prepared a place for you, my good and faithful servant, my good and faithful son. Enter in with me. That's what I want to hear. Not woe to you. Ouch. Do you hear me? Can you feel it? Would you just close your eyes and bow your heads and feel the presence of the Holy Spirit? He's with us. It's a powerful force because this is the world system. This is what the sower of the seeds was talking about, what this parable was talking about when it said the deceit of wealth came up and choked out life. I have been there where life was being choked out. I have been there where I've been cheated. I've been maligned, called names. I have constantly looked to progress in the kingdom of heaven, but I've also sought wealth because comfort seems to be better. But he says, look out. It'll get a grip on you. And you need to get a grip on it.
Thanks for watching the Father's House Orville YouTube channel, but don't stop there. We'd love you to subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a live service or a video. Help us spread the message of Jesus by sharing this video with your friends. You can also support the Father's House financially by clicking the Give button. Thanks again for watching today, and we hope to see you again soon.